And Nebraska wins it 28-10 against Purdue, right?
Yep.
If I would have given you 28-10 on Friday, you would have said, oh, nice. But people are triggered. We're not happy. We're not happy about things around here. Never happy.
It's got to look like it did against Pacific every single week.
Yeah. So we will go. Let's just start. I mean, this is going to be about Nebraska football today. Let's start with the messy parts, okay? Right off the bat. I would like to take you through some of the occurrences of the Nebraska's first 6 offensive drives on Saturday. Are you prepared for this?
I think I am, but you're going to get about halfway through it, and I'm just going to get triggered.
Yeah, you'll remember some things, and you'll say, "Oh my, that happened." All right, first drive. Nebraska on 3 plays gets it all the way to the Purdue 34-yard line after a 31-yard gain on an end around by Ja'Cory Barney. Then proceeds to throw it incomplete 3 times, takes a delay of game, and punts. So drive 1 up to the 34, punt. Also, I'll add, and this was a sign of things to come. The punt could have been down quite easily, but the gunner was in the back of the end zone looking in the wrong direction.
What was he looking at?
He was not facing the field at all. He was just chilling in the back of the end zone. What's going on? Offensive play calling, didn't love it, and special teams, not great. That's drive 1. I wonder if we'll see any more of those appearances later on as we move into drive 2. Drive 2.
First road game wrinkles. We're going to iron this out.
They'll be fine. They're moving it. They're fine.
Yeah.
We knew that Purdue couldn't set the edge, and Ja'Cory Barney's just going to have a hell of a day, and he'll be running free.
You talk about drive 2, and I'll give everyone the Peacock experience. Okay. Okay, try and talk over it.
Honk, honk, honk.
Do you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
I'm Jack Collinsworth.
You couldn't hear them.
The loud one in the booth.
Couldn't hear them at all. Hey, I got an idea. Let's put a field mic inside of a trumpet. Thanks, Peacock. Great broadcast. Second drive. Nebraska gets a pass interference, another sign of things to come. On a shot down the sideline to Heinrich Harburg, they complete a pass to Barney and then runs it 3 times to get to 4th and 1 at the Purdue 19-yard line. Then Nebraska decides, you know what? No more field goals today. We're going to go for it. Then Bryce Benhart, the guy who started 1 million games in his career, false started. And then they missed a 42-yard field goal. That's drive 2.
Still early.
Drive 3. On to drive 3. Nebraska once again decides it wants to go for it on 4th and 3 from the Purdue 22-yard line, 2-2-yard line.
Situation alert.
There was so many. I got so many tweets about situation alert. That game has to continue, by the way. Thomas Fedoni is then called for a pass interference where it was incredible. He did not touch anybody and got called for pass interference. It was awesome. The guy tripped, and there was no contact that was made. Thomas Fedoni gets called for a pass interference. Nebraska has to move backwards, and then they just decide to punt it from the 37-yard line. Let's just punt. All things considered, that wasn't actually that bad. Obviously, the pass interference was horrible, and people want to talk about officials. Once again, sign of things to come. Nebraska downs the punt at the 10-yard line. Special teams, not bad. Except for the fact that you felt like you couldn't kick a 52-yard field goal.
I felt like you couldn't kick a 22-yard field goal.
That was a situation alert. All right. Okay. So now we have a lot of things have gone wrong so far. We are on to the 4th drive. On to the 4th drive. Nebraska gets the ball at their own 43-yard line after the defense gets a 3 and out. They get 2 consecutive pass interference calls.
That's right.
To move the ball down the field. Dylan Raiola probably had 400 yards actually passing if you put in the penalties. And so then they have 1st and 10 on the Purdue 23-yard line. Our young baby boy, Dylon, takes a sack on 1st down. And Nebraska ends up having to try a field goal, a 44-yard field goal on 4th and 13, and it is blocked. All right, so now we're kind of swimming in it a little bit.
Yep.
All right, the evidence is overwhelming, but there's still more. 5th drive. Nebraska gets the ball on their own 27-yard line, and immediately on 2 plays, one of them being a pass interference, gets into Purdue territory at the 47-yard line. And then they get it up to 3rd and 1 on the 38, and guess what happened? False start. Incomplete on 3rd and 6, punt from the 43. Not good, Josh. Not good. There's a couple themes here, right?
Mm-hmm.
What have I said? Which words have I said a lot? Pass interference, false start, and bad special teams. That's all wrapped into one. Punt from the 40. It gets down at the 6th, though. Nice job, special teams. 6th drive. When will this end? Nebraska starts on their own 25-yard line with 2 minutes and 39 seconds left on the clock. And in 3 plays, including the 2-minute timeout, they have it on the Purdue 25-yard line with 1st and 10. This must be the drive where they score, right?
Breaking through.
1st down incomplete. 2nd down pass interference. 1st down to the 14-yard line.
Here we go. No
gain on a Ramir Johnson run. 2 straight incomplete passes. They kick a 32-yard field goal, and it is blocked. That really went downhill fast, didn't it? So in summation, what the hell happened? Now, I want to be very clear. I'm not freaking out. Was I mildly at this point, Josh?
What was your actual thought at halftime of that game?
I didn't think that Nebraska was. I at no point in that game did I think Nebraska was going to lose.
Okay.
I thought it would be scary. I thought, at the rate that it was going, that it would go into the 4th quarter.
They were still moving the ball, and Purdue wasn't.
They were still moving the ball, and the defense was playing very, very well.
And so you give a team like that hope, anything can happen.
I didn't feel like Nebraska was going to lose because I just felt like they were the better team, but they just shot their own foot off 700 times. So also in summation, they were during that time period, they were 0 for 6 on 3rd downs, 0 for 1 on 4th down, got a 4th down on a 2nd and 1. They actually got one, but they committed a penalty. Had 2 field goals blocked, missed a field goal, and failed to down a punt.
Not great.
No, not good. And it's at this moment where it's ablaze. Everyone is like, what is wrong with this team? Are they broken? This is like, it's been a couple weeks of consternation now, going back to, starting against Northern Iowa. It's like, I don't like how that one went, but I guess they won.
Looked a little worse each week.
And then Illinois happened, and then they crapped down their legs in the 4th quarter, and obviously overtime happened, and then this game, and you're like, oh boy. Has Dylon been sucked into the vortex of pain? And the answer ended up being no. And so I guess the question is right off the bat, and we can get to this, we'll dive into this more. I got a few emails and texts and things like comments coming in. Were you happy? Are you happy with the results of the game? And how do you feel about the team now? Because as we know, it is possible to be, let's just say, different on a week-to-week basis, right? Not everything that happened in this game is going to show up in the next game. Not everything that happened in the last game is going to show up in the next game. But there are some themes that we followed along. But luckily enough, the offense pulled themselves out of it in the second half. What changed? Well, here's a hint. In the second half, they only faced 2 third down plays. They only got to 3rd down twice in the second half. So that is something that we could discuss today. Like what's happening to Nebraska on 3rd down? And the answer is it's a variety of different things. They're committing penalties. They're making mistakes. They're having bad calls. I mean, that was on a 4th down, the Fedoni one. They're having bad calls. go against him. It just feels like everything gets kind of hyper pressured into this, champagne bottle, and then the cork pops off on third down. Woo! To continue with the baseball theme of the weekend. One of their 2 third downs, they scored a touchdown to Jamal Banks in the back of the end zone. The other third down, they handed it off to Carter 0899848943, and he tried to jump over everyone, and they didn't get it, and then they ended up punching it in on fourth down and with Dowdell. Anyway, so they converted 1 of 7 third down attempts in the game, and they were obviously 0 for 5 or 6 in the first half. Moral of the story here is don't get into third down, especially third and short.
Great strategy.
Something bad will happen, it appears.
Also seems like for this offense, putting it in the end zone is a better solution than trying to kick a field goal.
That is a situation alert.
Mm-hmm.
That is a situation alert. I have a few emails that I'd like to get to on the other side. Now that we've explained it, how do we feel about Nebraska football and things going forward? Nebraska is a touchdown favorite this week against Rutgers. Everything's fine.
Hello.
We'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone. Caleb writes in on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
Hi, Caleb.
Where they take banking personally. Caleb says, Connor, can we talk about how Emmett Johnson should be considered the top running back now? Watching the game Saturday, he looked like the most comfortable to me. I personally feel he's showing the best vision currently. This could always change, but going forward, I'd like to see him get the bulk of the carries. What do you think? Thanks, Caleb. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a yo-yo situation. Like, I think this is the benefit of having the 4 running backs, right? And really, it's I mean, we're just talking about 3 sans Gabe Irvin, who did get a carry near the goal line, I believe, on Saturday. If I'm thinking of the right game, let me pull up the stats here. Yeah, he got a carry near the goal line, a carry for 4 yards and tried to score and got tripped up. Here's the benefit of having the 3 or 4 guys is that you can kind of go with the hot hand. And I do think Emmett Johnson's a hot hand right now. And frankly, I don't know what it is about him, and I'm certainly guilty of this as well. I watch him. I watched him last year, and I'm like, yeah, there's something that's really maybe like off-putting about a running back where he just does the same thing consistently over and over and over again. It's not like he's breaking these massive runs, but like if you told me eight carries for 50 yards, which is Emmett Johnson's day on Saturday, I'd be like, yeah, that seems like an Emmett Johnson day to me. And I don't feel like that should be looked at as a negative. That should be a positive.
Something to say for dependability.
Absolutely. I thought he ran with the most patience out of the running backs that we saw. Obviously Nebraska was getting stuff done on the edges. They knew that they were going to have that. So Ja'Cory Barney actually ended up being Nebraska's leading rusher on Saturday with the end around 66 yards, and Barney ended up having 2 catches for 28 yards as well. So nearly put up 100 yards of total offense to Ja'Cory Barney. So I think it's this is an individual kind of game by game thing, but I would agree with you that Emmett should probably get earlier carries and more reps right out of the gate. I still think he's like a 12 to 15 carries max kind of guy. But if you could get some good stuff from Dowdell, you got really good stuff from in the first couple weeks of the season, and then mix in some of that other game. That's what Nebraska has to do. They have to be a little bit diverse, I think, in the run game. It's sort of an NFL style. But you saw kind of how it went in the first half with Dowdell, and it just kind of wasn't enough. And then Emmett Johnson took over, and he popped a couple. Now I would say that I would add this, that what Nebraska did with Ja'Cory Barney in the pass game. Ja'Cory Barney Jr. Yes, sorry. Is that a thing? What Nebraska did with Ja'Cory Barney and in the pass game was able to open things up for Emmett Johnson. And I do think that's kind of that's part of the plan. That's why he's been playing in the second half a little bit more over these last couple games. So it doesn't it's not always a 1-to-1. And I think that's the point of the show today, right? That's kind of the Nebraska football thing. Like, okay, if you copy and paste, is Nebraska more of what they were in the first half or more of what they were in the second half on Saturday? And it's just like, it's just because we like to do this thing where it's like, oh, okay, this is what they are, and let's apply that to the rest of the season based on the most recent thing that I've seen from all of these other teams. And that's just not how it works, right? Nebraska, I talked about this last week, and many have. They are, and Rule talked about it after the game, like they are improving, right? There are some things that they are going through right now, but ultimately they won the football game, and they won it pretty comfortably, and they came out of their shell in the second half. And I'm not saying that they're good. I'm not saying, like, comparatively, Nebraska football player John Bullock and Matt Rule have each said it in the past. They keep saying, hey, we just have to keep telling ourselves we're a good football team. Like they're saying it to themselves. They're saying it to themselves. We are looking at it in the context of what everything else is going on around college football and what we've seen over the last several games. Now we're almost halfway into the season, and you're thinking, I don't really know what this group is. That's okay, because you play the games that you play and you have the problems that you have in the games. You just hope that Nebraska can figure out those problems and they don't shoot their foot off.
Kind of important.
Exactly. So
gotta maintain our composure.
I don't know, man. Like we're getting it a lot in the YouTube comments. A win's a win. And that's what Venmo Chris says. A W is a W. People need to look around college football and realize that teams struggle sometimes against overmatched opponents, i.e. Texas. It happens, and they won. I don't like. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you probably thought you were going to win this game by
Did you?
30.
Did you?
You certainly left
Because
13
that's the
to
stupid part.
24 points on the field in the first half.
But if you do result by result, think about the conversation that we were having a week ago and how much of a meltdown it was around here. And then all of a sudden, people just expect coming back the next week that they win by 40 points against a conference team like on the road.
Purdue is bad, Connor.
Well, okay.
They fired their offensive coordinator.
They did. They fired their offensive coordinator. And now we're using that as like, Nebraska should have beat them by. No. The defense was incredible. The defense was good again all day long. They got the one garbage time drive at the end of the game where Card made two really nice throws. And like, I don't get the yo-yoing. It's like, once again, we're in shambles a week from today. And then all of a sudden, by the time Friday comes around, we expect Nebraska to beat Purdue that comfortably on the road. And they did. And people aren't still like, I don't get it. I'm confused by it.
You won a road conference game by 18 points. That's pretty good.
Right. And not to say that there weren't warts in there, that there weren't problems in there. The football is not perfect, as Matt Rule said, but
you're not ready for Ohio State.
Nebraska was never going to win that game 56-10. Yeah. I would have been amazed if they won it 56-10, if they were perfect the entire game. There are things that happen in a game that sometimes don't allow you to win by as well. I guess
good job not letting it run down your leg in the second half because you're so in a tizzy mentally.
I guess I am having a problem figuring out where people are with this group. I like do we think they're good? Do we think they're bad? And how do we apply that to what we see on a weekly basis when they play? I'm like I thought that Nebraska would win by 10, right? I thought that Nebraska would win by 10 and it would be a little difficult for them on the road. And I don't like, we like to make a lot about the opponents. Who is Purdue? Who they lost to? They got ran all over. Yeah. Well, I told you guys a lot of the stuff that they've been run all over on defense was from teams that had the ability to run the football with the quarterback. So it wasn't always going to be easy. But the one thing that you could take from it is, they could probably get the edge here because they haven't been good at setting that. And look what happened. They took advantage of it. That's Nebraska's version of the quarterback run game. And they ran it for exactly how much I think they need to, on average, this season to be successful. 161. If Nebraska can run it for 160 a game,
that's your number.
That's my number. They run it for 160 a game, and I feel pretty good about that. They ran it for 161 yards. And they probably, like I said, with the penalties, ended up passing it for like 400. So I guess, I don't know. I don't really understand I don't know. What are people mad? I'm confused. I saw, so Josh put out a question. It was like, what do you think Nebraska's going to be? Like, what do you think the spread's going to be? Guess the spread.
The spread for Rutgers.
And I saw somebody guess like, Rutgers probably by like 4.5 or something like that. Nebraska's a touchdown favorite, guys. Like, jeez. Jeez.
Yeah, I thought we'd come in today and everybody would tell us that, well, they might not make a bowl game.
Yeah,
I thought that. I don't know the tenor today of the audience.
I don't know what the tenor is. I'm having a hard time figuring you guys out. Got a tweet, or I've got a couple of these from this morning, and it is true. It does appear, because I'm a Verizon customer, it does appear that Verizon is down. So if you have Verizon, I guess you can't call us or anybody for that matter.
Oh yeah,
in Omaha. Yeah,
I have Verizon.
There's a major nationwide outage with
nationwide. It's a big nation, Connor.
That's what Ross is saying on the Equitable Bank inbox.
Oh, wow, hi Ross. Thank you, Ross. How was Ross able to tell us this?
He emailed us.
Oh, okay.
He did not give us a phone call. You can still text if you're connected to the internet, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I'm having a hard time figuring you guys out. I don't really understand. Are we mad? Are we happy? Because I feel like the overwhelming.
Do I have to be mad or happy?
No, you don't. You can just take it on a game to game basis. I don't think that's a good way to put it, Josh. I don't think anything really should have changed after what Nebraska did on Saturday. They're going to have these times where it doesn't look perfect. And then they're going to have these times where they're running the thing up and down the field. And it's like, whoa, this is what they could be. But they don't. Like teams in Nebraska's category of teams around college football, they just aren't that all the time. That's why they are where they are. And so then it becomes about the games. And then it becomes about what you do in the games and the mistakes that you make and the problems that you could cover up or the good things that you can accentuate. And Nebraska's got to get good at doing that.
I will still say I'm pretty sure this team can't run the ball all that well.
From a traditional standpoint.
Yeah.
But we talked about this in the offseason. Like, okay, I think that and thought that too.
Mm-hmm.
But if they have the quarterback that they have and they establish that, is it just because we don't like the way they're doing? I don't understand how you couldn't like it, though. They have an incredible quarterback, and they come out and they're passing the ball all over the field. And
that I love. Looks great.
That sets things up for what you did in the second half. Is that why? Is that why people are angry? Because it's not running the ball. Like we got to be able to line up, run it straight at them, and get 10 yards.
I wasn't prepared for a
follow-up. It's not how it works.
It's more of a vibe.